So we are here at the Elephant. Why did you decide to call it the Elephant? Of all the names.
Okay, well, when we first started this as a performance space, it was called Kifaru, because there was a rhino. There was a rhino painted on the gate, which we found when we first came. So people started calling it unofficially Kifaru. But about, I want to say 7-8 years ago, I got involved in some elephant conservation work, and it only made sense to, now that we were choosing a name, to call it the Elephant. So the building is called the Elephant, which, so I have my office, we have the studio, and then the concerts, because they're live at the Elephant.
Yeah, and music is something that connects people, and recently we've seen that you've decided to make it weekly. Why did you decide that?
Well, the decision to play weekly is partly because audiences continue to grow, right? And even if you're playing weekly, someone who's seen you today might not come and see you next week or the week after, but they'll come next month or the month after. But having a dedicated space is something that I've always wanted to do. About maybe 6-7 years ago, we had that sort of space at a place called Club Afrique, but Club Afrique closed down. And before that, we were doing a club called Club Sound, where we were doing every 2 weeks. So with a weekly gig, people know where to find you, you know? And so if you're just chilling at home with nothing to do, you're like, hey, bana, show inaanza saa hizi, let's go, you know? And so it's kind of cool. And if you've got people from out of town or people who you just want to show a good time, you know, this is the kind of place that you can bring them to. And if events are only once a month, then you deny yourself an opportunity as an artist to play in front of new audiences, but also you deny audiences an opportunity to hear you.
So which artists do we expect every time you come to see at the Elephant?
Well, okay, so every time you come, you'll see me.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
No, it's not.
But you also get to see a lot of my friends. Like you'll see someone like Tetushani, or you'll see a brand new band called Television. You'll see a brand new artist called Gabi Maina. A lot of artists who you'll see are actually people that we are recording as a record company. We've discovered, let me say, about a couple of years ago, I started this songwriting workshop. And one of the things that grew out of it was how many artists were coming here every day just to write songs, you know? So it has become a bit of a village, you know? And so people who you know, some who you might never have heard of, but they're really good musicians. And so those are the kind of people that you will be showing up on any day. So you'll see some talent who you know and other talent that you don't know, but anytime you come here, you can expect a good show.
And Tetu, we've talked about Tetu, and he just released his music video, Africa Sun, which is dope and awesome.
So much.
How did you discover Tetu?
No, I didn't discover Tetu. I can't take credit for that. Tetu has been playing for a long time.
Yes.
In fact, when I first met Tetu, he was a djembe player, right? And was auditioning for the Berklee College of Music. I think this was about 5 years ago. And he got a pretty decent scholarship, but he decided, because he already had an undergraduate degree, that you now focus on his songwriting career, singing and songwriting. And so we are honored to have someone like Tetu grace our stage every once in a while. And he played us his video even before he released it, and I was like, oh my God, that is the kind of video we need to be making, you know?
Yes.
And so Tetu's this guy who has first of all, he's got an excellent voice. He's a good-looking man, you know, and then he plays. He's got a really good command of his instrument, you know, and he's got good stories to tell, you know. And this is, people always ask, what is the Kenyan sound, you know? And the Kenyan sound is diversity, you know, because we have grown up listening to so much music. We can't only do one kind, you know. And so there's Tetu, there's gonna be Kendi. Sauti Soul played here the other day when we had an event here for Gig Dynamics. We had Ben Soul play. Tonight we've got Atemi, you know. We've got some of the best names in the industry, you know. And so it's really cool to be able to be at the helm of a community like that.
So, and you've been in this industry for a long time.
Many years. Which we shall not disclose.
If there's anyone who knows Kenya and doesn't know Eric, I don't know what they know. So how have you been able to stay relevant and to have such a long-lasting career?
Well, I mean, the battle with relevance continues every single day, you know. But if there's something that I've learned, so the battle with relevance is an everyday thing, because does relevance mean you're being played on radio? Does it mean that audiences are coming to see you? Does it mean you've got good social media presence? What does relevance mean? But one of the things that has worked for me is, and I say this to a lot of songwriters, to a lot of musicians, is that you've got to be in control of your creative output. Meaning that if you're a singer, right, you can't only be depending on other people to write your songs for you. The time will come in the industry when you can be a Whitney Houston, where you can be a Tony Braxton, and you'll have a lot of songwriters who are there feeding songs to you. But then songwriters own the industry in many ways, because when royalties come, songwriters make a huge percentage of the money, and we need money to stay alive. Also, you're not depending on a producer who may have who might have gone to bed at about 9 in the morning, has been partying all night, right? Not badly, just kind of living,
Yeah.
you know. You're not depending on someone else to come and help you write your stuff, right? And so I say to a lot of young musicians, or to musicians, singers especially, who are waiting for someone else to come and write their stuff, learn how to write your own material. Learn how to play an instrument, even if it's just 3-finger chords. You're there like, okay, this song, hii ngoma inaenda hivi, right? That's all you need. And that's definitely one of the ways to having a long-lasting career.
So, and as we were interviewing instrumentalists today, and I think you've paved the way for many of them, many of whom we don't hear, but we will come to hear them. What would you say makes a good band?
A good band is first of all made by people who are there. What that means is, one of the fathers of Kenya's music industry is a guy called Guido Kibukosia. He's the father of Marcus from Kamula, right? And Kamula is partly responsible for the sound that we hear coming out of even someone like Karun right now. What Guido said, his father, by the way, was part of the team that wrote the Kenya national anthem, right? Guido said, when my wife asked him, Guido, who's the best bass player in Kenya? And Guido said, the one who is there, right? Because you can find a lot of musicians have a lot of skill, but if the individual doesn't show up for rehearsals, doesn't show up for gigs, then they're not a good team member. For me, I've spent a lot of time building up a team that has no egos, right? Whenever we get together to rehearse, it's always the best idea in the room that wins, right? I don't say, look, I'm the band leader, so I choose. No, the guitarist is there like, I've got a good idea, it goes like this. Oh, we evaluate it, right? Is it better than the idea I came with? And then we go with that. And so I think the things that make a best band are bands that don't have siasa. No fitina, right? And guys respect each other for what they bring to the pool.
And you have a studio where people can come and record. What do they require, or they should just come to the Elephant and play?
We have an email address, theelephant03@gmail.com. So the elephant, so there's 2 E's there in the middle, at the elephant03@gmail.com. Send us an email, and then we'll probably ask you to send us a demo of your songs. It could even just be you singing on your phone. Now, don't go to any expense. And then we'll invite you in. We'll spend some time with our staff writers, and we'll see what happens from there. You know, we are in the habit of also investing in the artists that we're putting out, because the barrier to entrance into the industry cannot be money, right? The barrier must be talent. Can you sing? Can you play? Can you write? Right? Otherwise, if it's money, then you get rich people who might not be talented, you know, may or may not, you know. And so that for us is, so I'd encourage anyone out there who's watching, send us an email and let's see what we can do.
And so actually, Usala came out just a month ago, and you guys are the one who produced the soundtracks of that. How was the process, and how did you guys decide to start? Have you ever produced other soundtracks for other shows or films?
Lusala is probably the third or fourth feature film that I've done music for. I did a couple of Wanorika Hughes films. Wanori, who we all know from Rafiki, but she had also done a film called From a Whisper. Then she done a documentary on Wangari Maathai. I've done a couple of documentaries. Then I did the 4 years of Tinga Tinga, the animated series. And so for me, and you'd also ask me, how do you guarantee longevity in the industry? It's by having several different skills. And one of the skills that I have is being able to see picture and be able to write music for that picture. Because as a musician, you've got to be able to make sure that when the performance is drier or when sales are not that good, kuna do zingine zinaingia, someplace else. And so because if you're only depending on one thing, then you can really struggle. And parents keep on saying, don't go into the music industry because how will you eat, right? And what they mean by that is how will you survive when it's so unreliable? But you can make it more reliable by being involved in a number of different sectors of the industry. And so for me, film scoring has been something I've been doing for all my life.
And Tinga Tinga, you just spoke about Tinga Tinga. It's a musical that has I've been part of, which is amazing. It's an amazing show. And you guys have also gone to Broadway. How was it? Why did you think of starting an animated series?
Well, the animated series was developed by a woman called Claudia Lloyd, who had produced Mr. Bean, the cartoon series, another cartoon series called Charlie and Lola. So Claudia is this really big fish from the UK, sometimes you get some guys coming in here from the UK sort of saying, okay, they've done all of this, done all of that, and they haven't, right?
True.
This chick has done it, right? As in she sits at the high table when there's, and so she had been learning Kiswahili in Kenya and Tanzania, and then also came across the Tinga Tinga art from TZ and the African creation stories, the animal creation stories. And she said, it would be an interesting idea to put these things together. So when she came, I auditioned for the film scoring work, and we were writing so much music that after about sort of 2 years in, we said, we've got to turn this into a musical. And so after we finished doing the show in about, I'm going to say 8 years ago, now came the time for us to do the musical. And so we worked on it for about a year or year and a half, did the first production of it out here in our garden in 2016, and then then got interest to take it to New York, at which point we said, okay, let's do a month at the National Theatre. What was interesting about Broadway in New York and Nairobi is that from the standpoint of equipment, let's say, right, everything that we used at the National Theatre was local, right? Every single light, every single speaker, every single microphone, every single musician was from here, right? And so to imagine that there's a huge difference between us and a place like New York is denying ourselves the skill that is here. What we did do is that we brought in a lights director from New York to come and program our lights. And so borrowing skills, let's do that. But let's never tell ourselves that we don't have what we need here. The other thing that really helped was that we had really good sponsorship from Safaricom and the Mount Kenya Conservancy, right? And also a foundation called the Schooner Foundation. Because at the end of the day, you also need money to make these things work out. Fine, the lights are here, but the lights guy needs to get paid to bring, his investment there. And so for us, it was a big lesson in the combination of those factors. When the money comes together, when the skills come together, you can do wonderful things. And Nairobi, New York, tuko pamoja.
So to expect lini the next Tinga Tinga?
The next Tinga Tinga, it's funny you say that because I've just come from a musical at my daughter's school, and they were doing Mary Poppins. And while I respect the need for us to sort of reach outside the country and do musicals from outside Kenya, I see that, Tinga Tinga has 52 stories. We only borrowed 2 to write the musical. And so maybe the onus is on myself and on other writers to be there like, hey, the work has begun. Why don't we tell the story of why Zebra got her stripes or whatever? And so you actually found me at a good moment when I'm thinking about that. So maybe in a year.
Maybe in a year.
Artists I listen to locally, I listen to Atemi, I listen to Chris Adwar, I listen to Tetu, I listen to Karun. I listen to Sawa Sawa. I listen to Bensoul is great. I love Harry Kimani. Man, the list can go on, man. Paka Sungura, so clever. Calligraph Jones, you know. Yeah, I think everyone is just sort of putting their best foot forward and really doing good stuff. And like I said before, there is no Kenyan sound. Our Kenyan sound is just a mixture. There's no Kenyan sound. It's just diversity. That's the strength. That's the strength. You know, we don't have to be there like, okay, the Nigerians have gone one way and that's worked for them. It has really worked for them. You know, but we can't expect that just by replicating that particular formula that will work for us. You know, there's so many factors that go into making our music sound, our music industry be what it is. And I think that there's so many factors that have made us be who we are. So let's just continue doing that.
So actually, I have one last question. You've been in this industry even before the internet was there, and now that there is social media and everything, what's the difference between then and now, and how good is it to the industry or bad?
I think that social media has helped us in huge ways. You know, we're able to get the audiences that before you could only reach through radio, through television. And right now, I mean, I'll give you an example. I teach a songwriting class one day a week, and I go into class with what I think the kids are going to think is some really cool music, like say the Billboard Top 100 or whatever, or whatever is really hip in Kenya right now, and they'll be there like, oh, that's really cool, but I will just check this kid who's playing in his bedroom somewhere in Lagos or in Kuala Lumpur or something, right? And it'll just be a kid playing his or her guitar, you know, and they're making this music which has no barriers, right? And so the industry, the internet has allowed us not to fit into a particular straitjacket. We can do whatever we want, right? We can reach whoever we want. But it has also sort of come with a huge responsibility, because now, if the traditional channels are not giving me sort of the exposure that I need, that's up to me to have the Eric Wainaina channel, sort of as it were, you know, to access the people that I need to access. And so 10 years ago, the question was distribution. That's no longer an issue, you know. Now we can reach anyone, anywhere.
So if anyone wants to follow you on your social media pages,
okay. At Eric Wainaina Music on Instagram, at Eric Wainaina on Twitter, Eric Wainaina Facebook.
And what's a fun fact about you?
Yes.
One fun fact.
People don't know.
There are very many fun facts about me.
2.
That's the fun fact.
That's the fun fact. Thank you.
Thank you.